Whoa, what's up everybody? It's kind of early. Didn't drink my coffee yet. I like coffee. Actually I don't. I just extract the caffeine. So, today is the day I am going to tear this thing apart. I built this printer maybe a year and a half ago. Actually slightly more than that maybe. And so this printer has printed for a year and a half plus almost every single day, and it has done a wonderful job, and it is time to finally tear it apart. Well, sort of. I'm doing some upgrading, and so, you know, some people are going to ask me, Russ, why would you mess with it? This thing it's been running this long and it does a good job. Why would you mess it up? Well, just as life changes, printers change. Time for upgrades. See all these strings? It's one of the things I hope to resolve by moving the extruder around into the right place. So this is the last thing I printed on here, and hopefully I'll be able to print some more. I'm going to do auto bed leveling. That's always been an issue. Getting this bed level has always been an issue. I'm putting smaller pulleys on here to get a higher precision, and that will also solve an issue I have with one of these pulleys being slightly out of round, and I think that's been throwing me for a curveball for a long time. So moving the extruder portion, hanging it above here somehow. One thing I did that I didn't ever show anybody or record, I should say, is I added some lights. And these aren't very bright. I thought they were brighter. They're not. I may put some new ones somewhere, but for this moment in time, that's what they look like. But I've got a new light bar for the bottom of my new end effector. So anyway, so that's it. So powering it off, and we're gonna tear it apart. Can't believe how much I've run this printer, and it just keeps going. It's amazing. So let's get started. I'm gonna move this thing over to my portable table here. Yes, this is my original portable table. It's even got the awesome electrical cord I was using to tie stuff up on. So we're going to use this as my movable table today to work on the 3D printer. So let's move it. Let's see if we can get a halfway decent shot without breaking everything. Moving the printer. Sweetness. The thing is heavier than it looks, and it's bigger than it looks. Some people will see that in real life and they're like, whoa, that thing's huge. This is the back side of it. We don't get to see this much. I did want to show you about how much dirt has accumulated on this thing over the amount of time. Check it out. Can't even see the potentiometers on there anymore. This fan has just been blowing dirt into that thing for so long, but does a good job. I'll blow all that off with air. So anyway, one piece at a time, and we'll get her did. Alright, see ya. Oh dear. Alright, boys and girls, so I've taken the top off. Got the top completely off, the belts off, the carriages and the end effector and the hot end and the wiring and the hotbed and everything. Took everything off. Slide bearings here, they're still really smooth. tiny bit of play, but still feel real good, all of them do. So yeah, just wanted to give you a quick overview of what it looks like naked. Yowzers. Alright everybody, so I've got the new parts that I created. I assembled them and put them in the proper place here. And if my camera will focus, there we go, stay focused. There's two bearings here. One's got a shield on the back of it, and then the other one's a solid bearing. So what's going to be happening is, because of this pulley is a smaller diameter, and these match what the top is, they also match where these align. And so to keep the belt square all the way up to the top, I just created a bracket that's basically exactly the same as the top one, except the top one has an angle on it. It's the only real difference. So so now these are the same width as the bearings on here, and then the belt can go down at an angle, hit the proper radius here, go back up, and everything still works. So I had to put the end stops above that all, because if I put it below it, well, then it would hit, because the end stops are, as you can see, the end stops are mounted on the belt, so they can't go past the end. So when I get everything assembled, I'll show you what I mean by how this all looks, but I wanted to show you just temporarily. Looks good. It's going to work out well. Awesome. Okay. So I've disassembled and taken apart the pieces here, and these are my new 3D printed pieces with these are, let me show you what I've changed on these. So these have this slot in here, and the belt goes through there and back around, and I don't like that at all. So I designed this, it's hard to see because it's black, but I designed this where it's got teeth in it, and that fits right inside the belt. And there's a little clamp that goes on the outside and clamps that belt in that little hole. Can't even see the hole. So I did that because it gives me a little bit of extra length, a little bit more movement, and I don't like wrapping the belt through here. It's not a good idea, not a good engineering part, but it works. So the other piece here, my new hot end or end effector, it's my rods. These things don't weigh a thing, man. They're so light, even with springs on them. And then let's see. So I've got all the nuts and bolts here. Now what I did is I super glued these darn things, and so some of these have some bad super glue spots on them. May have to get some new bolts. Bit tricky getting out. I actually, a couple of these just snapped off. This stuff is really brittle. You can see how it yellowed. That yellowing is it's bad stuff. Heat getting to it over time. No big deal, but it's time to replace this part. This has been a good part for a long time. You can see how the ends here look. They've always looked like that. And so they always had little bitty splits. So this one actually, my printer, I'm printing in such fine things, this thing turned out really well. So I don't suspect if I don't over tighten these, I'll be alright. So I'll probably end up super gluing those, just a touch of super glue on there to keep them from moving. And so let's put this part together. Okie dokie. So check it out. All done. Got the glue on every one of these. And so I'm ready to put the bearings back on and see where we go from there. Woohoo! Alright guys, so managed to get this all done. These new clamps seem to work very well. There's no moving that belt. And even if it was just a clamp, it'd probably work well, but since it's got the teeth, it's even better. So, the bottom here, you can see how the belt is. It's smaller here and it V's up to the bigger side, and that's the importance of the extra pulley. And then the magnetic end stop here. So, moving on. Oh, it's looking good. I mean, the mess that is, because you know, if I'm not making a mess, I ain't doing a good job. Okay, I changed a lot of stuff and I kind of pieced together a few things that I didn't plan on doing. One of them is the extruder mounted right above the hot end, instead of being down here and having a tube going all the way up to the top. And you may ask me, what is the reason, Russ? It doesn't make sense. Why would you do such a silly thing? Because this looks haggardly stupid. Well, it's because when you start working with the 3D printer, you'll figure out that the longer this tube is, your basically retraction and your push out and your pull back are basically determining how much stringage you have across all your parts. Okay, so why wouldn't I just mount this motor right onto the end effector? Because this end effector needs to move much faster and have less weight on it. So it has less weight on it like this, with the extruder just hanging up here bobbling around. So yeah, it looks kind of silly, and it's going to be practical. There are two. I was going to put some like this piano wire type stuff. It's very stiff stuff. It's actually what I have a piece of it inside here. You can see it right there, and that keeps this stiff. And I was going to put that on here to keep this holding in one spot. Well, when you tie two things rigidly and then stuff tries to move around, you actually cause more problems. So you're better to have more flexible things, but still keep things in the position. Now, this is being held on here with a magnet. Let me go up and I'll take it off. So this is being held on here. Well, it's being held on there with a magnet. I'm not going to pull it off because one-handedly it's not a good idea. And you're probably going to ask me a couple more questions, like, isn't all the weight of this, like, what's going on here? Well, there's a string. It comes up. It's actually not a string, it's a cable. It's a plastic-coated cable. Comes up, goes down here, and I have temporarily added some counterbalance. I will be redoing this, but this is all I could find laying around fast. As well as the pulley system here. I could 3D print some nicer brackets, but I was not planning on doing this, but I decided since I have it all torn apart, I might as well do it. So basically, the extruder, okay, you can see if I pull this down, it goes back up. The extruder is magnetically being held in place right now. I'm actually going to redo this entire piece here. Temporarily, this is what I've got. So this will all be connected together later, but right now it's kind of nice because I can remove it. And then I have these other two high tension cables that go just through the holes here, and that just basically holds the weight in case there's some stuff going on I don't like. If all the weight was being pulled against this tube, then it's going to pull this poor tube out of here. It's just being held in there with a nut. Again, when I redo this will be all much better, but right now that's the way it works. I bent this cable inside here, this stiff piano wire stuff. I bent it so that this stays over to the side. So no matter where this thing goes, it shouldn't hit the extruder. Okay, even as it goes up. Well, there it kind of hit it, but hey, I'm learning. The other thing I did was I'm trying to figure out how I can make this filament. You know, how can I make this filament go down to this thing and make it work? But it's got to push back, and so it can't push it all the way back through this tube. It just won't work. There's too much friction there. So I decided, you know, if this is all the way down, then whatever length this is right here will coil up. Okay, so as this goes up, it'll just coil up whichever way it feels like it. And it usually only makes one loop like this, and there's not really anything it's going to get snagged on. I just have to pay attention to that if it does get snagged. It'll only be on the first portion while it's running, because otherwise it's just constantly pulling down, so it'll always be tight. And yeah, silly as it looks, I didn't want to add like rubber bands and things, because all this tension is on these pulleys, you know, on these motors, and constantly pulling on this end effector. I wanted this to be free, and it can move as fast as it wants, you know, whichever way it wants back and forth, and this thing's just going to flop around. And that's fine. So that's the idea. I have no idea if it's going to work, but that's my counterbalance gantry system for the hot end extruder motor, I should say. Yes, I'll be redoing the plastic parts. It looks pretty haggard. And I'll figure out a better way of doing it, but right now that's the solution. So I'm going to actually turn this thing on. It's going to run at half the speed because the pulleys are half the RPM, or I should say half the size. So I just want to turn everything on and make sure it works, and I'll run it, and then I'm going to hook it up to the laptop here and actually download the new software, or the new firmware I should say, and actually try to program and calibrate and see what happens. So it's lunch. It's just after lunch, so I have about 3 hours to accomplish my goal today. We'll see if I get it done. Alright, so it's the end of the day. I did manage to get everything functioning. So just for your reference, I do not have an auto deploy. So we're going to type in here G30 and watch it go. There they are. There's our numbers we're looking for. We can then hit M500 and save the settings. Auto calibration. Awesome. So, successful day. I did try to print one of Z's gears to see if anything changed, but I didn't put any goop on the bed, so it didn't stick. So tomorrow we'll finish making sure we understand how to calibrate everything. Awesome. See you tomorrow.
For anyone. Lightning. For anyone. Repeat the cycle like a laundry. Glitch in the system, it's hard to repeat the cycle like a laundry. Glitch in the system, it's hard to Repeat the cycle like a alarm. Glitch in the system, it's hard to